I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Pistons Talk podcast presented by FanDuel. I'm joined by a very special guest. If you're a Piston fan, you probably know who it is. If you're a game theory fan, you probably know who it is. It's Bryce Simon. Thank you so much for making the time today, man. I appreciate it.
No, thanks, Anthony, for having me on. I'm glad we were able to do this. And, as I was telling you, we've done a couple different things over on the Pistons Pulse recently. So I'm excited to just go straight Pistons talk and conversation around the team and where it's at right now and a little bit of a look ahead.
Yeah, I feel like we have different opinions, but it's always fun when we get to talk. I always say, I know you're extremely busy with being a teacher. I know you do coaching, was it football, I believe it
Football.
is?
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, you're a busy guy. I was just like, I'm gonna try to reach out to him like before the draft to see if I can get him on. Like, if I can, cool. If I can't, I can't. I was like, I'm gonna reach out just to see, get him before school starts.
This is perfect. School starts next week, actually. I have to be back in the classroom Monday. School starts the first day on Wednesday. Football starts the week after that. So it would have been a little bit more difficult. This last couple of weeks is truly my one downtime, even with the summer, because of playoffs, summer league, draft, my own kids and their travel stuff. So this worked out very well.
Well, we do have a couple of topics that we're going to be going over with you guys. I think these are actually kind of fun topics because I feel like we're going to have different answers.
Love it.
We'll get into segment one, which is going to be, what do you think the biggest strength of this team is going to be this upcoming season with the new acquisitions?
Okay, so I have three answers to this, Anthony. So this is how we get into, super long episodes is you ask me one question and I give three answers. Here's the strength that I don't think people talk enough about. They have Cade Cunningham. That is the biggest strength of this team is you have one of the best players in the NBA. And whether you think he's the best player in the East or one of the top three or one of the top five, like however you want to say it, I don't care. My point is, like, when you have that guy, you give yourself a chance, right? Yeah. If you don't have that guy, it's really hard to give yourself a chance in the NBA. And so to me, the biggest strength for this team, for this organization right now, always goes back to Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say depth. But like I said, I knew we were going to have different type of answers, but I agree with you. Like, having Cade is probably your biggest strength just because I think we understand he's a top 10 player, whether you want to say top 10, top 5. I mean, best player in the East. I think we all understand how special of a player he is, but I was just kind of looking at the acquisitions in the roster. I was just like, and we'll kind of get into one of our segments later, but like, this team is extremely deep. I know I was listening to your podcast. I can't remember which player you guys mentioned, but like, maybe I have him as the 11th guy. And I was just like, it's crazy the amount of depth that this team has, which was a huge strength last year with the injuries that we did have. But I look at this team again, and it's a really deep team. Could easily be 10 to 12 guys that play each and every night.
Well, I told you I had three answers. So one of my other answers was the depth. I think, it depends on how you do the roster, but let's just say same starting lineup, but you have John Collins instead of Tobias Harris, right? And then let's say the next five is Danis Jenkins, Isaiah Joe, Ron Holland, Taurean Prince, Paul Reed. Well, then you still have Kevin Huerter, Javonte Green, who was a really good regular season player for sure last year, and the rookie Abuka Okori. Like, Abuka Okori might be your 13th player and was a first-round pick, and I'm not saying that's what he's going to be. Abuka may be the backup point guard. I don't know. But and that's like Tolu Smith is still there. Your 15th player, Anthony, is Chaz Lanier, who at the very least can come in and provide some floor spacing. And so that's where, if I was going to be more specific, this team has real depth in terms of floor spacing. Now, they don't always have the best all-around floor spacing lineups because you have non-shooters in Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, Paul Reed, and right now Ron Holland. But when you have all of Duncan Robinson, Isaiah Joe, Taurean Prince, Danis Jenkins is a really good catch and shoot 3-point shooter. Like, you have real floor spacing depth on this team. And so even if I wanted to be more specific beyond just depth overall, it's also all of those guys that have the ability to knock down threes and space the floor.
I know one of your video breakdowns of Elijah Harkless, like that's such a deep rotation guy, but that's like a lot of depth at point guard too. Like you
Yeah.
talked about, you
So
talked
good
about
defensively.
Ibuka.
So good defensively at the point of attack, Elijah Harkless.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a coach, or like one of his family friends, but he like sent me his measurables, and he's like, he's got the same exact measurables as Drew Holiday, like exactly the same. And I was like, I haven't even dove that deep into the Elijah Harkless film. I saw that we signed him. I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's a Motor City Cruise guy. And I was like, oh, he actually played some games for the Utah Jazz, and Will Hardy like raved about the kid. So it's just like, who knows? Maybe that's another guy that could crack the rotation if there is an injury. You never know.
And so my third one here is I think we can talk about their defense at this point, Anthony. Like, I think their defense is going to be a strength. And we've seen them have, through 2 years with JB Bickerstaff, different rosters, different players in their rotation, and that defense still be very good. And so that's one. And I think more and more, they have a real identity defensively in terms of wanting to be disruptive to the offense. And they continue to add players that do that. Like, to me, that's if Ibuka Okori plays a bunch of minutes this year, his value defensively will come from his ability to disrupt the offense whenever he's on the defensive end. Ron, like, go to NBA.com. And I think it's either I think it's deflections. And if you do it like per 100 possessions, it's Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, Paul Reed. It's like 4 of the top 15 players or something like that. And so I think their defensive identity and how good they are defensively is another big strength for this team. And I think it's not plug and play. It can't just be anybody. But let me ask you this, Anthony. How many times last year did you go, man, they can't play Duncan Robinson? He's not able to hold up defensively. Like, he's just really, tanking their defense. That conversation didn't really come up last year. And I think that was a huge concern of the fan base whenever they signed Duncan Robinson, 12 months ago.
I mean, they're having conversations about the starting 2 guard right now. Who's it going to be? But you never really had those concerns with Duncan. And like, I think an underrated part of like his game was the rebounding. Like, he was a really good rebounder at the position, but no, you didn't really have games where like you really questioned if he was getting, like, I guess cooked is the term that the kids use today. But I mean, he did foul a lot, but I mean, like, if you're fouling, it just tells me like you're at least trying to stay in front of your defender. But I mean, overall, like I was really pleased with Duncan. I know he did have a couple of games where the shot wasn't falling, went in little slumps, but overall, he was a really good 2 guard for the Pistons for the money that they got him with.
Who's the major negative defender on the roster? Like, Duncan's probably the worst defender, like, to be fair. But like we just said, it wasn't like it was so bad that you couldn't play him. Go through the second unit Danis is good defensively. Yep. Isaiah Joe, I think, is better than what people think and is at least neutral. Ron Holland is really good defensively. Paul Reed is extremely disruptive. Like, Taurean Prince at the 4, I think, is a little bit undersized, like, maybe, but Javonte Green's a good defender. I thought Kevin Huerter was very good defensively for the Pistons. Like, to me, with Huerter, it's really like, is he able to knock down, catch and shoot threes? Ibuka Okori, like, of those 13 guys we're talking about, the rookie point guard, is the guy that's like, man, maybe he. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's not a whole lot of just like, man, this guy, it just, what are you going to do defensively if he's on the floor? There's just not a whole lot of those guys on the roster.
I know Duncan did get hunted out a lot, like during the regular season, but it's not like to the point where it's just like we have to take him out of the game. Like, he's the reason why we're losing, because I thought the help side defense was really good all year with Isaiah Stewart and Asar Thompson. But like overall, like, you can go down the list. Like, I thought of a player, but he's probably not going to play, like Ugonna and Yenso, just like with the summer league stuff that we did see. But like he'll be better with the Motor City Cruise. But like overall, you're right. Like, you kind of just look down the starting lineup, the bench, the deeper bench guys. Like, even Chaz Lanier had some stuff this regular season where I was pretty impressed with just the way he was moving and communicating, especially like in pick and roll sets.
I'm not sitting here trying to make the argument that Duncan Robinson is a positive defender or whatever, but I will say this. He played the second most minutes on the team for the team that was second in the NBA in defensive rating. And again, I'm not saying that's because of Duncan Robinson. We all know that's because Asar Thompson and, et cetera. My only point here is, if Duncan Robinson is your worst defender in your 10, 11-man rotation, and we've seen him be able to hold up perfectly fine, your defense should be pretty good again. And when I say pretty good, I'm saying top 5 again. And they continue to just lean into really being able to disrupt other offenses. Like, I think that's the trade-off they see between Isaiah Stewart and Paul Reed is Isaiah Stewart's a better rim protector than Paul Reed, Anthony. Like, I would say Isaiah Stewart's an all-around better defender than Paul Reed. But you know what Paul Reed does better than anybody on this team, including Asar Thompson, is be disruptive. Paul Reed averaged over 6 stocks per 100 possessions. Asar Thompson averaged 5.5. Like, pure disruption. Paul Reed absolutely gets after it on the defensive end.
Oh, I just love the way he blitzes pick and rolls like every time. Like,
Yeah.
that's like probably my favorite thing about Paul Reed is I know he's just going to blitz a pick and roll and get a steal or get a deflection. And like offensively, the production you get, like I looked at his per 36 numbers. They're just absolutely insane. Like he's a per 36. Like,
and that's a little unfair, right? Because Paul Reed played 900 minutes. Asar played almost 2,000. It is a little unfair, right? Like I listen. Asar Thompson is the best perimeter defender in the NBA. Was first team all defense, rightfully so. All of that, like we all understand that. My only point here is, I think why they felt comfortable with Paul Reed over Isaiah Stewart, especially defensively, is because of the disruption that Paul Reed brings and them just continuing to lean into that more and more. I think what they finished last year top. Oh, yeah. I thought it was like top 3. They were first in steals per game and first in blocks per game. I thought it was like top 3 for both. I didn't realize it was literally number 1 in both.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Javonte and Ron were top 5 in steals off the bench. And I think that set some kind of NBA record because both of those guys were really disruptive in the passing lanes and just getting deflections as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's what Javonte is, a really good regular season player. Now you get in the playoffs, teams scout that a little bit more. And I did some breakdowns on this and made notes of it throughout the playoffs of, well, now when he's a little too aggressive off the ball, he gets weak side flare screened and gives up a catch and shoot 3 or something like that. Like it, when teams really scout it, it can end up being a negative, I guess, but it definitely gets you through the regular season.
Would you also say with the acquisition of John Collins, like they'll be a much stronger transition team?
Interesting. This was not one that I had on my radar. But I would say the 1-for-1, I know it wasn't a trade, but Tobias Harris, I would say yes. In general, I think John Collins theoretically should enhance their transition game because of his athleticism and all of that. I would agree with that if we're just going 1-for-1 with him and Tobias Harris. I'm trying to think about the other moves if I would agree with that also. Interesting. But yes, 1-for-1, yes.
Because I was just thinking, like, they were a pretty good transition team when they were able to get stops. Like, that's something that I know JB preached about, like getting, just open court transition opportunities. And I love Tobias Harris, like for what he was, but you could tell like he was panting by the third quarter trying to get like those transition opportunities with Asar and Cade and all those like younger bucks just like running up and down the court.
Well, the other thing is, again, I don't know where Abuka Corey's spot in the rotation is going to be, but he's another player that can really push pace in that way. Like I think Abuka looks really good in the open floor. Whether he gets a steal himself or the outlet pass, whatever it may be. And so I think and here's another thing, the floor spacing makes your transition, better as well. So you're talking about Isaiah Joe running out in transition, Taurean Prince running out in transition. Those guys aren't catching lobs at the rim, but they're spacing to the weak side corner to either get the kick out play or they're bringing a defender to them. So when John Collins runs or Paul Reed runs, now the lane is more open for a catch and finish or Cade to get all the way to the rim. So I could see them making a little bit of a step forward transition wise.
Yeah, I feel like Collins and Isaiah Joe are stronger play finishers, than we had last season on the roster.
Yeah. I think Isaiah Joe is really good. And I didn't, you could go find the tweet if people want to see the exact numbers, but I did the comparison, him versus Duncan Robinson. And it wasn't to say like, oh, Isaiah Joe is a Duncan Robinson replacement. It was to hopefully give Pistons fans a visual of, you just saw what Duncan Robinson did for a year. Here's how Isaiah Joe compares to him. And the comparison, it was very similar. There was a couple play types that were a little bit different. I think Isaiah Joe is probably used more in like a pick and pop ghost screen action, which is going to be a lot of fun with Cade Cunningham, by the way. But my point was just to show, hey, we've seen Duncan Robinson be an elite floor spacer, and Isaiah Joe is also an elite floor spacer. The fact they've kept Duncan Robinson on this roster and then added Isaiah Joe to it, I love. Not to mention Taurean Prince, who whatever is left with his game, and I think I'm a little bit lower than other people, but I still think he's an NBA rotation player, and there's no question he is still a legit floor spacer.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be the most spacing Cade has ever had. Like, I know I had someone on last week saying, like, it's probably going to be similar to the Hardaway Beasley in terms of just, like, volume of three-pointers that, like, Isaiah Joe and Duncan is going to just attempt overall.
Can I push back just a little bit? I don't even want to push back. I want to get your thoughts. So the only reason I didn't say floor spacing was a strength is because I don't know how many lineups are going to play these guys together where it's actually that big of a strength. You know what I mean? Because the starting lineup still has Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren. And I know things aren't 5 in, 5 out. That's not how you sub. But even the second unit, quote unquote, has Ron Holland and Paul Reed. So I think there will be, I was trying to think about this today. How many minutes, Anthony, would you be comfortable playing a Cade Cunningham, Duncan Robinson, Isaiah Joe, Taurean Prince, Jalen Duren lineup? Like how many minutes in a regular season game? Because offensively, that's a lot of fun. Defensively, can you hold up for 3? Like, can you end a quarter like that? Can you start a quarter with that lineup, survive defensively, knowing that you're going to be impossible to guard on the offensive end?
I'm going to be harsh and say like maybe like 3. Like I
don't think that's harsh. That was my answer. But here's the thing. I hope JB does it. I hope he starts the second quarter with Cade Cunningham, 3 floor spacers, Jalen Duren, and just runs middle ball screen and dares the defense either to not help and let Cade and Jalen Duren play a 2-man game, or hey, help from any one of those 3, and we're going to get a wide open 3-point attempt from a 40+% 3-point shooter. And then we'll hold up enough defensively. Cade, you got to take the other team's best player here. Isaiah Joe, Duncan Robinson, Taurean Prince. We just need you guys to be active here off the ball. And Jalen Duren, take a step forward, protecting the rim defensively. I think he can hold up for 3 or 4 minutes against certain teams and certain lineups.
Yeah, I feel like the only team that you could, maybe not anymore, because I feel like they got a little bit better in the draft, is like maybe Brooklyn. But we even saw Brooklyn like when we weren't like really taking them seriously. Like I remember that run, and when they lost that game, I was like, maybe you can get away with like 4 to 5 minutes with Brooklyn. But I was like thinking maybe Brooklyn's a little bit more serious because they have Julius Randle, they still have Michael Porter Jr. Really like the point guard that they took out of the draft this year. I can't think of his name.
Michael Brown.
Yeah, I really like Michael Brown. Like they have a lot of youth, but like again, like I would not want to see that lineup for too long. But like if you just need some offense and buckets, like that lineup would definitely get you some buckets pretty fast.
So that's my point, though, is while they have depth of floor spacing, it's not necessarily floor spacing that can all play together. You don't have a true stretch big, depending on how much you want to play John Collins at the 5, or maybe Paul Reed continues to expand that. And so like that's the only reason why I would push back a little bit on the floor spacing being an overall strength, just because you can't play it all together in lineups that much or for that long.
I agree with you. I didn't really have floor spacing as a strength either. I was thinking today, I was like, they're probably going to be a better transition team. I was thinking, I, I think half court sets they'll probably still be like around. I think they were 16th last year. I think they'll kind of tread around that same type of ranking or whatever you would kind of want to categorize it. But overall, I think they'll at least have one 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
On the starting lineup and with the bench unit. Like again, I'd love to see 2 3-point shooters out there. Maybe they do like you mentioned John Collins at the 5 and maybe Duncan Robinson out there if you want to get away with it with a smaller lineup.
Yeah, so that's the other lineup I was trying to do is like, what if you did Cade, Isaiah Joe, Duncan Robinson, Asar Thompson, John Collins, and you're just going to like try to switch everything, and you're going to be small, but maybe Asar rebounds well enough. You're asking a lot from Asar in that lineup defensively, like go guard the other team's best player and grab every defensive. But Cade can be a good defensive rebounder. We've seen it in his career. Yeah. He just doesn't always have to be, because Asar's a good rebounder. Tobias is a good defensive rebounder. And so like, I wonder if that would maybe be possible in terms of being able to, again, you're not playing a ton of minutes in a row of a lineup like that, but you can almost play Asar, Cade Cunningham ball screen stuff. And then again, you have John Collins off ball, Isaiah Joe, Duncan Robinson spacing. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's some fun, different lineup combinations you can get to with this roster right now.
Yeah, I want to see pick and pops with Cade and John Collins. I'm just like really interested, or because I know he's a little bit older, but I know he could still be a lob threat too. Like I think you could set like two high screens with Jalen Duren and John Collins and kind of pick your poison who you're going to guard, which I think will be a whole lot of fun if JB wants to kind of implore that.
Agreed. No, I think here's my thing with Collins, and this is getting a little bit to one of my worries or whatever weaknesses, is with the front court. I like the idea of Collins being able to play the 5. My issue is how much can you play him at the 5 when you need him to play so many minutes at the 4, because I don't have a great answer for who the backup 4 is, and listen, I've come around a little bit more on Taurean Prince. Asar can play some minutes at the 4, stuff like that. But my thing is, okay, let's say John Collins plays 30 minutes a night, right? I think that's probably the most you can expect. There's already 18 minutes at the 4 that somebody else needs to play. And now if you're taking 10 or 12 of those minutes and playing him at center, well, now there's another 10 or 12 minutes where somebody else has to be the 4. So that's my only thing with and then also Paul Reed is an answer to one of the questions later, but like now if Paul Reed's playing the 4, right? Let's say Paul Reed's going to play some 4. Are we positive Tolu Smith can handle the backup 5? It's like just the depth all around there. I'm a little interested to see how it plays out, mostly because the center rotation of Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, Paul Reed was probably the best in the NBA last year. And while I think Paul Reed being the backup center is going to be fine, and I've come around on that, and I know people have high hopes for Tolu Smith, you just can't sit here today and tell me that Jalen Duren, Paul Reed, Tolu Smith is better than Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, Paul Reed. You know what I mean? Like, so that's my one thing with the front court, I guess.
I mean, we can go right into it because you kind of like just echoed your concerns with that. I have a few. My biggest is backup 4. Like we were just kind of talking about that. Like you mentioned Taurean Prince. I see Ron Holland in a lot of depth charts as a backup 4. I've even said, I don't know if they're done in free agency. I would assume they are, but Trendon Watford is still unsigned. I don't know if that's the player you go and get. But back-to-back years, we just really haven't addressed the backup power forward spot. And I'm interested to see what JB does. I feel like it's going to be Taurean Prince because he's a vet and he's played a little bit of backup 4 in Milwaukee. But that's one of my biggest concerns is just that position in general.
Yeah, I think my general answer is just the front court. And again, I've come around a little bit on the combination of Taurean Prince, Ron Holland, Javonte Green can make it work. And I will hear that out. I think part of my issue is, Anthony, I spent all pre-free agency going, man, can they get John Collins and Sandro Mamukelashvili? If Sandro Mamukelashvili was on this team, I would be ecstatic. Like that would have been for them not making a big move, right? Not trading for Trey Murphy or signing Austin Reeves or whatever, the names that have floated out there this offseason. If that wasn't going to happen, if you told me they brought in Isaiah Joe, they brought in John Collins, and they also brought in Sandro Mamukelashvili, and I don't know, like Kyle Metz could probably tell us whether that was even possible in any sort of world or not. But like that would have been my vision, because or even if it was like Rui Hachimura and Sandro Mamukelashvili. But I think I had envisioned finding a way to get two of those type of players, especially if you're trading Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah, I even kind of floated out like a Dean Wade. Like,
sure, yeah, great name, Anthony. Great name.
Like the fact that Philly got him for the number that they did, I was like, I like Kevin Huerter, but like if we would have let Kevin Huerter go and got Dean Wade, I would have been ecstatic, because then you got a backup 4 or a backup 3 or wherever you want to play him. Because I think he's extremely underrated. I know some people kind of crap on him a little bit, but Philly had a hell of an offseason.
Anthony, O2 said it the other day. Dean Wade's was one of the best Cade defenders that we've seen. And I'm not, listen, like, it's all relative, right? It's not like Dean Wade shut him down or something like that, but you know what I mean? And I'm not saying you only sign him for that reason, but he is a good defender. That is a great call there with Dean Wade. That's a great, so that's what I envisioned, was two of those guys in some way. And not only did they not bring in two of them, they also traded Isaiah Stewart. So they only brought in one and they traded away Isaiah Stewart. I think that's why I'm struggling so much with the front court.
I am too, but they're at 16 roster spots. Maybe they make a very late free agency move, kind of like they did with Javonte Green last offseason. I'm hopeful there is a legitimate backup 4 where we're talking about it and we're like, that's okay. Like maybe the guy's kind of under the radar. Someone mentioned Kevin Love in the chat. I love Kevin Love, but maybe 10 years ago. not right now. Not right now, you guys. I like the spacing, but the defense is kind of bad at this stage of his career.
Yeah. I was just trying to look through like teams here to see if there's any names that would like Jarris Walker, if Indiana was, I don't know what their plans are there. I don't know that I didn't have a whole lot of names prepared. Like I am just assuming at this point, I know they have to make one move, right? I don't know who it is. I assume this is the roster they go into the regular season minus one player that they just waive or find, they trade into somebody's trade exception. If somebody wants, Gary Harris is the name that I always think of that doesn't end up on the roster. I don't know if that's actually what ends up happening. I just can't imagine them trading any of these other guys now. Can you?
Yeah, it
can't be Tolu. Tolu can't be.
It
can't be Taurean based on the conversation we're having about the backup 4. It almost has to be Gary Harris unless it's part of like a 2-for-1 trade that brings in somebody else.
Yeah, I know a lot of us were talking about PJ Washington for like a long time, but like I don't even know how you get up to that. And I'm with you. I think Gary Harris is the casualty. Because I don't really think you need to carry 6 shooting guards. Like that's your deepest room by far. And kind of where Gary is at in his career. Like he's had a lot of injuries, obviously didn't play a whole lot because of injuries. I think he averaged less than 3 points a game with Milwaukee. But I guess the argument that a lot of Pistons fans like, well, he shot 40%. I was just like, I understand that, but like you have a lot of shooters on this team. I don't really think you need to carry them on this roster right now.
To your point, then who is it though? Like I'll hear that out. So are you trading Chaz Lanier after the summer league he just had? And listen, I will be the first one to bring up, summer league and shooting percentages and all of that. But again, it can't be Tolu Smith unless there's another move that comes after that, because he is unquestionably, in my opinion, the third center. Like,
Yeah.
I have some intrigue with Ugana Onyenso long term, but that is definitely a Motor City Cruise player for this year, probably a couple years. It's not, again, Taurean Prince, Javonte Green, it's not those guys. You're not trading Danis, Paul. Like, I just don't know who else it could be.
No, when I did my depth chart video a couple of weeks ago, I had Gary Harris getting cut and waived to get them to 15. I don't really know what's out there in terms of trading, but I'm with you. I probably wouldn't really want to trade Tolu because, like, what is out there in the center market and free agency, it's pretty dried up right now. And by the way, you still have to sign your starting center, by the way. It's just like, man.
So okay, for your listeners and viewers, I'm just talking about Jalen Duren like this contract is going to get signed. And when I say contract, I don't mean the qualifying offer. I understand if people question that. That's just how I'm approaching the offseason right now. I don't expect us to get an answer for another month still. And I have no inside knowledge, anything like that. I have no clue. I just talk about the offseason like eventually they're going to come to some sort of agreement. My guess is they either Jalen Duren comes down and they do get like a 5 for 200 deal, or they end up in a shorter term, like a 2+1, with the player, some sort of 3-year deal, some shorter deal at a little bit higher money. I'm under the assumption something gets done and Jalen Duren's on the team and not on the qualifying offer. So just to be clear here, whenever we talk through this.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about Jalen Duren so much that I told my listeners, I was like, you guys, unless he signs the qualifying offer, there's a sign and trade, or he signs. I'm done talking about it.
Fair. It's fair.
When you're doing daily podcasts every day, like, got another Jalen Duren update. I was like, you got, like, I read the comments like, Anthony, I'm sick of hearing that name every damn day. Like, well, I get it.
The thing is, there's nothing changes for a while now. Like the next quote unquote deadline or whatever is to sign the qualifying offer. Right. Yeah. And so like, there's no reason for Jalen Duren to sign anything right now. He can just wait. He puts more pressure on the Pistons the longer this goes. And I'm not saying he can put a ton. I mean, he can if they really end up thinking he's going to sign the qualifying, because that is a bad situation for Detroit, right? He has a no trade clause. He'll be an unrestricted free agent, probably unhappy. Like, that is not an ideal situation. So I just don't think a whole lot is going to change. Sorry to Pistons Talk listeners that we just did Jalen Duren conversation for a few minutes. I apologize.
It's all good. Like, I'm under the same assumption as you. I'm assuming that he is on the team. I just really hope it doesn't come to the qualifying offer, because Agreed. At that point, like, you just have to, like, if he even threatens to take it, then you kind of have to just like brush aside, like, okay, like, what's a sign and trade deal we can do? Because so you don't want to.
Sorry, like, I will literally be stressed every game watching the Pistons if Jalen Duren plays on the qualifying offer, like, for his sake, because one injury and like it will stress me out so much. Like, Jalen Duren, selfishly for me, please don't sign the qualifying offer, because I can't watch 82 games hoping that you don't get hurt and that ends up being a really bad decision. So just meet in the middle, wherever that is, get this locked in, and let's move forward talking about Asar Thompson's contract, because that's where the conversations will immediately turn to.
Yeah, like, I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope they do kind of meet in the middle, whatever that price point is. Maybe it's a shorter term deal, which I kind of share the same opinion as you, because then he's like 25, then he can test the market again. But to me, it's just kind of been like a lot of agent talk and a lot of agent tactics, which I understand. I get it. You're trying to get your client the most money possible. But I think I'm kind of with you. Backup four is probably one of my biggest concerns with this roster. I don't know if you have any others.
One real quick one is, I will just say secondary ball handler creator. And that is secondary ball handler creator when Cade Cunningham is on the court, and also when Cade Cunningham is off the court. And I think some people may disagree, and I would hear that there are a bunch of options here in terms of one, Jalen Duren did do that during the regular season, right? It didn't translate to the playoffs, but he did a lot of self-creation with the ball in his hands during the regular season. Maybe Asar Thompson takes a step forward with that. We saw them do that a little bit more. I did a video breakdown on that if people want to go check it out on the Substack. Abuka Okori got drafted to do that. Can he do it this year? I think now I'm higher on Danish Jenkins than most of the fan base. Again, that's kind of been a roller coaster with me where I feel like I was higher on Jenkins and then I was lower and now I'm back higher on him. And then Laz brought this up, and so I will credit him. Maybe Ron Holland has some of that. Maybe like that's his role off the bench. So I think there are options. I just can't pinpoint one specific one that I say, no question, this one's going to pan out for the Pistons in the 26-27 season.
Hey, you hope that can be Abuka Okori. I don't know if it will be his rookie year. I do think if he does play with real NBA players, the prime real estate he can get into the paint is something that I think will translate really well. But like playing with like a guy like a Jalen Duren or playing with the guy like a Paul Reed, for example, and like he looked for Chaz Lanier every damn possession. Like what happens when he's looking for Isaiah Joe or Duncan Robinson and playing with real NBA players. Like I'm pretty high on Abuka Okori as a prospect, but I'm with you. Like I think a camp battle that I'll be paying attention to is Danish Jenkins and Abuka Okori for the backup point guard spot, because I don't really think it's set in stone. I don't think it's really Danish's spot right now. I think the way JB is, it's just going to be camp battles with a lot of these positions because he's one of those coaches that it's just like, yeah, like you got to earn it. I'm just not going to give it to you. So hopefully it is Abuka Okori, but I still have my questions as well.
Yeah. So that would be my other one there is just, okay, in games that Cade misses, but even in games that Cade plays, are they able to take a little bit of that on ball pressure off of him?
Yeah, I'm with you. I know we don't have as many concerns, which I'm sure they'll kind of like as the season gets closer and we're watching preseason, we're like, oh crap, like there's way more concerns. Which get the schedule actually coming out next week, which will be always interesting to overreact to it, like I always do. But
love it.
That's just me. Before we do get into segment 2, you guys, we have to hear from our sponsors over at the FanDuel Sportsbook. And right now they have NBA future bets, and they have the win total odds out for the Detroit Pistons set at 48.5. That has actually gone down 2 games since last week. So the over is set at -120 and the under is set at -105. I am kind of puzzled that it's gone down 2 games. I don't know if it's because LeBron's in Philly. I really don't know why it went down 2 games in the summer. I don't really think anything crazy's happened so far.
I would go over on that. I think my questions, concerns, whatever about this team have nothing to do with the regular season. It has more to do with the playoff ceiling.
Yep.
And even though I didn't completely agree with how the offseason was approached and what happened, they could still address those concerns during the season, right? To increase that playoff ceiling. I think they're going to win a lot of regular season games because of the depth we're talking about. Now, if Cade Cunningham misses an extended period of time, then things could be a little concerning, but we saw Jalen Duren, and Danish Jenkins and maybe Abuka Okori. So I think they can handle a few games here, a few games there. But I think the depth of this team is going to allow them. I don't think they're going to win 60 games again. I don't know that any team in the NBA is winning 60 games based on how many teams are trying to win games and be good this year. And that's in either conference. But I think I will take over 48.5.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be like upset if they won 48 games and they're like the 4 seed. Like I think last year my opinions were try to win as many games possible because you went from winning 44 and then 60. If you go down to 48 and you're still like a top 4 team, depending on how the Eastern Conference shakes out, which I think it's going to be really competitive to your point. I think it's going to be a bloodbath every night. I mean, you got healthy players like Tyrese Halliburton coming back, Jason Tatum, even this kind of like going down lower to the play-in conversations like Milwaukee could be a play-in team.
So Dave DeFore brought this up over on the Pistons Pulse. And like, if you just go through their roster, like they'd still have Tyler Hero, who's a 25 point per game guy in this league. They have 2 stretch bigs in Miles Turner and Khalil Ware. They have Ryan Rollins, who I think is a really good basketball player. They have AJ Green, who spaces the floor. Jaime Jaquez. Like, to your point, this is supposed to be one of the worst teams in the East Conference. And if they come in healthy, that's a quality team. How about the Washington Wizards if healthy?
Yeah.
Trae Young, Anthony Davis, AJ DeBonsa, Alex Sarr, DeAndre Ayton off the bench at the center position. It's just, there are going to be very few. Even the Brooklyn Nets have Michael Porter Jr. and Julius Randle. And you're not walking into Brooklyn and those 2 guys playing along with their young players, and you're just going to, ease your way to a win with how good of a coach Jordi Fernandez is. And the Western Conference is very similar, so I don't think we see a bunch of teams up around 60 wins. I think we see, this is what the NBA wanted. They wanted teams at the lower end of the league to win more games. And if they win more games, that means somebody's going to have to win less games. So I think we're going to see standings, push together just a little bit more towards the middle.
Yeah, new lottery system probably didn't help that either, because you're going to see everyone trying now. Just to, you can't just like really tank the tank, I guess, anymore with the way the new lottery system is going to be in place this upcoming season.
Yep, agreed.
Okay, we want to get into segment 2, and this is a rotation question. Now, I know last year JB had always said like the strength of this team was the depth. Do you think this is going to be another season where it's 12 deep on a night-to-night basis?
I do. I think when they're healthy, I think we will. I think we will see that. I find it hard to believe, based on the roster that they have right now, that you traded up in the draft. I mean, essentially you traded Isaiah Stewart, is the way it played out, to draft Abuka Okori. You gave Kevin Huerter the contract you did not to play those guys, right? And so I think the 5, let's just go with Duncan Robinson in the starting lineup. Those 5 guys are all playing, right? I think Isaiah Joe's, you didn't trade for Isaiah Joe not to play him. You have to play Paul Reed. You're going to play him. You're going to play Ron Holland. That's 8. I think you're playing Dennis Jenkins. I think you're playing Abuka Okori. I think you're playing Kevin Huerter. I don't know how they don't play at least 10 guys. And if fully healthy, I don't see how they don't play as good as Javonte. How many minutes did Javonte Green play for this team last year and play really well? He played total minutes last year. Where's Javonte?
It's like 20 minutes or 15 minutes or something like that.
Oh, I'm on the wrong season. I looked at 24-25 for some reason. Not on the roster. Javonte Green. Yeah, 1,500 minutes last year in the regular season from Javonte Green. That's not going to go down to a couple hundred, I don't think, for a guy that played. So the long way to answer, yes, I think in the regular season, when healthy, we could see them playing 12 players.
I know. I feel like this is such a kind of like a touchy subject with Pistons fans, because I think some are under the assumption you play your best 10 guys, but you look at the talent on this team and it's like, to your point, like you don't give Kevin Huerter $9 million to rot on the bench. Like I could see him being easily the 6th or 7th man off the bench, because I think they really liked what they saw out of him defensively. The playmaking was extremely underrated that not a lot of Pistons fans talked about. The 3-point shot is the 3-point shot. If you can kind of get up to league average, I'll take that in a win in itself. But like, it's a deep team. It's a really, really deep team, like maybe 13 deep. Who knows?
So can I give you here? I actually looked this up the other day. I don't remember what I was looking at for, but in JB's first year, Marcus Sasser had the 11th most minutes played on the team at 800. And then Dennis Schroeder came in as the 12th most with 700. And obviously, that wasn't even the full season. Now let's go last year, minutes played. The 11th most minutes played on the team was Paul Reed at 900 minutes. And then 12th, 13th, 14th all had right around 500 minutes each. that was Jaden Ivey, Kevin Huerter, Marcus Sasser. I think we're going to see 12 guy. I think you could go to 12 with guys playing 750 plus minutes. Now, injuries and stuff like that can alter those numbers just a little bit, but I will not be surprised whatsoever. Because here's the thing, Tolu Smith's going to have to play at times as well, right? Paul Reed played 900 minutes last year as the third center on this team.
Yeah, I mean, injuries, foul trouble, which you hope that Duran can stay out of foul trouble this year, because that's something that I've been really frustrated with him throughout his young career, as just getting in the foul trouble early, because you might have to lean on a Paul Reed early. Let's say he gets in the foul trouble. Are you comfortable with Tolu Smith being that third center? We're gonna have to wait and see. Which I think in the short limited minutes with the Pistons, I was pretty impressed. I was able to cover him in the G League and kind of how he developed with the previous job that I had, but it'll be interesting, man. I don't know. I don't know how Tolu Smith will kind of relish in the opportunity to kind of play in that Paul Reed role this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously have a lot of confidence in him, because based on how it is right now, it is his role. I guess the counter to this is, like we brought up earlier, you could say that John Collins is the third center. And so there's an argument for that. He can play some small ball five. So they haven't had that from non-centers over the last 2 years, right? You couldn't really play a whole lot of Tobias Harris at the five, and John Collins gives a little bit more of that. But no, my expectation is Paul Reed is the backup center, and they just believe in Tolu Smith being the third center.
What if JB kind of just goes complete sicko? I know Asar's bulked up a little bit this offseason. What if he plays Asar as a third string center if there's foul trouble?
I was trying to get into this whenever I was thinking about the floor spacing lineups. Very specific matchups, Anthony, is what I would say.
Yeah, very niche matchups. I know he's done it maybe I can recall maybe 1 or 2 games, and it was maybe for a minute or two, just until one of those guys could get a breather. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting with the rotations with JB this year.
For sure.
Hopefully he doesn't do it in the playoffs like he did.
So that's the caveat here, right? I mean, I guess I'll go ahead and start this. My expectation is that we will see some sort of trade at the deadline that will, like a 3-for-1 trade, a consolidation trade, however you want to say it, that brings in that number 2 scorer for the playoffs. And then that just kind of naturally shrinks that rotation down to, 10. And then maybe you even get to 8 or something like that when you get into the playoffs.
Can I tell you something funny I did during the playoffs?
Sure.
So after game 1 where JB didn't play Asar, I reached out to Koo, had him on the podcast, and I asked him about the rotations, and he went off for 20 minutes.
Yes. That was game 1 against Orlando?
Yeah, I think he played less than 20 minutes, and he played 13 guys, and Koo's you can't play 13 guys in a playoff series.
I was there in attendance for that one. I made the flight out for that game. So
yeah, I mean, hopefully, to your point, maybe it's a consolidation trade where you're trading 3 of your rotation guys, where maybe you're only playing maybe 8 to 11 guys in the playoffs. I hope it's just not 12 deep in the playoffs, just like you do in the regular season, because I think you do need to tighten it up a little bit.
Agreed.
Okay, we do have one more topic, which I think is a fun one, with just the way the season is going. Do you have a Pistons hot take for this upcoming season?
So I'm the last person that likes to give hot takes. Here's the best I came up with, Anthony. This is the best I can do. I assume fans are not going to like this and be mad at me for not actually giving an actual hot take. But I think this is the year that Ron Holland becomes the young player on the roster that is most divisive with the fan base. He's entering year 3. And so my take is Ron Holland either becomes like an unquestioned sixth man on this team or gets traded at the deadline. That is my hot take for this season. And so again, I'm not saying like I don't know where I'm at in terms of Ron Holland becoming like a starter, like this big time two-way wing that we talked about potentially happening, right? Like Jaylen Brown was like the ceiling, the potential archetype, all of that. I think after 2 seasons, it's like that's probably not where this is going. So actually the name that popped in my head today as I'm thinking about it is someone who recently got an extension with the Dallas Mavericks, Najee Marshall. Can he be a Najee Marshall where he's probably going to be better than Najee Marshall defensively, maybe not as good like with his on-ball creation as what Najee Marshall is. Najee Marshall, like floor spacing wise, is sometimes there, sometimes not. But I think most people would take Najee Marshall in their rotation. They'd take him as their sixth man, right? And so my hot take is Ron Holland either becomes that, where it's like, hey, he's not going to be a starter for this team, but he is the Pistons sixth man. He's really good defensively, like kind of runs the second unit, gets him out in transition, playing with the ball in his hands a little bit more. Or if he doesn't become that, he ends up being part of the trade that we kind of alluded to a few minutes ago.
See, my question with that, which I love that hot take, is does JB actually kind of like take the shackles off a little bit? Because I feel like Ron plays a very niche defined role for them, which is like hustle guy, scrappy guy, grab rebounds, push the pace in transition. Like, does he give him a little bit more leash to do some of the things when we were doing evaluations in the G League Ignite? Because he doesn't play like he did in the G League Ignite like he does for JB Bickerstaff and the Detroit Pistons.
I don't know. Like the answer is probably no, but I just wonder, maybe, I guess that's why it's a hot take, right? Is because I think even the path to the positive side of what I brought up is hard to see. You know, would he actually give him the freedom to do all of those things? And so I guess we'll have to see, but I do wonder, I guess my whole point with all of this is I don't foresee Ron Holland just being like, hey, he's the eighth guy in the rotation, right? Like that's going to be his role for the Pistons. I don't foresee that in his future. And so to me, it's more of, hey, we're going to lean into this a little bit more. He's going to grab and go in transition. And even when I say play with the ball in his hands, it doesn't necessarily mean he's initiating offense. It's just like they're strategically running actions where maybe he starts off the ball, but then he ends up like off a pin down into a handoff. Now he's turning the corner and they trust him to make that quality decision. I think one of the least talked about things last year was how good he was defensively and how much better he got defensively so like the offense doesn't have to be that good for him to be kind of in the role I'm talking about. It definitely has to get better. There's no question. But if it gets to a certain level along with his defense, you're talking about a really, really good sixth man. But my thing is, if it's not that, and all of a sudden we're already talking rookie extension next offseason, Anthony. Like he's already in the spot where Asar Thompson is this offseason. This stuff happens fast. I do just wonder if it's like, hey, as part of this trade, we're going to make it the deadline. If we trade Ron Holland, maybe instead of trading a first round pick, it's a second round pick, right? And that ends up being better for us in the long run. So.
I mean, it's a good hot take. I have one for you. I think John Collins is going to be a player like we saw with the Utah Jazz.
Okay.
I kind of look at how he was used in LA, and you had Kawhi Leonard, you had James Harden. Most nights, he's maybe the fourth option at best. I think JB is going to use him more than Ty Lue, which I think that's kind of the bar. Like use him a little bit more offensively. I think he could definitely be a guy that's around 17, 18 points a game.
So I remember whenever I did my, off-season breakdown, I wanted to look up the numbers here and see, it seemed like there was some play types in Utah, where he was used a lot more off screens, even I think as a pick and roll role. So like pick and roll man, he was used more in Utah. Like to your point, in LA, and listen, Kawhi, especially for stretches of Kawhi was playing as one of the best players in the NBA for stretches of last, like just straight up.
Yeah.
But it did seem like there was a little bit more space to the corner, just play on the baseline, that type of stuff. To your point, not just in transition, but maybe in the half court, they're going to use him a little bit more strategically and get him involved in ways like in Utah. I like that one. And again, that's a really good player. He averaged 19 a game his last year in Utah. It was only 40 games, but on really good, 53, 40, 85, 8 rebounds. That would be incredible. That signing would look even, I guess, sign and trade would look even better if that's what he returns to.
I think that's maybe what the front office thinks if they give him a little bit more opportunity. Like he's shown throughout his career, even like dating back to his Atlanta days, like he's a pretty good player when he has higher usage. So I could definitely see him maybe being like I don't want to say like second option, but maybe he kind of fills into like that like 2B option if maybe JD doesn't have it that night and Cade's looking to do more pick and rolls with him as the role man and kind of throw opposing defenses off. I could totally see that happening.
Yeah, the interesting thing with that is I will just bring up this one caveat with like a Cade Cunningham, John Collins pick and roll is now you have Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson both off the ball. You don't have either one of them involved in the action and the space. But I think to your point, maybe there's ways to stagger the rotations where he's on the floor with Paul Reed, who can space a little bit more maybe, and, some floor spacers on the wing around that or whatever.
I totally skipped past the second question I was going to ask you. I just noticed it now. I was like, oh my God, I didn't ask him that. It was like the biggest leap question. I was like,
so no, I knew I thought maybe it was just like, hey, we're trying to hold this down to an hour, so I'm just not going to ask that one. My answer here is Paul Reed for what it's worth. So,
okay.
And the reason is I think he's getting the biggest leap in terms of role that he's going to be asked. And I'm trying to think if I'm missing. Cade's essentially the same role. I guess Asar could be an answer, like just what does he improve offensively? Duncan's going to be in the same role. Jalen Duren's essentially the same role. Like maybe wrong. I thought Paul Reed was my favorite answer here because it's like, no, you're the backup big. You're going to start. Paul Reed's going to start 15 to 20 games for this team. Like Jalen, most likely, like I'm not trying to wish injury on Jalen Duren. I already talked about that earlier. I guess he played 70 games last year. So 10 to 15 games, he's going to be the starting center. He's going to double his minutes played this year, would be my guess. And so I think he's getting a big time opportunity. And I think he's going to be up for it. And so I wonder if he's the guy, just in terms of production, we see the biggest leap from.
I think that's a really good answer. Mine was Isaiah Joe because I think there's a pretty good opportunity that maybe he's the starting shooting guard because I know that's a conversation that a lot of people have been having. I think Duncan or Isaiah Joe like pick your poison really. For whatever reason, every time we sign someone in free agency or we trade for a player, it seems like they have their like best statistical season for whatever reason. Like when Malik came, he broke the all-time three-point shooting record. I could definitely see Isaiah Joe have more of a longer leash with JB and just kind of let him, attempt like 6 to 8 threes a game. Could totally see Isaiah Joe having a breakout season with Detroit.
No, I love it. I mean, he's going to get great opportunities. I think he is a real floor spacer. Again, I think one of my favorite, I can't wait for the first Isaiah Joe go screen with Cade Cunningham and then just gets that catch and shoot three and is able to knock it down. When I did my breakdown for the Substack, I think his defense is probably better than what people realize because that Oklahoma City team is just, has so many good defenders. Sometimes whenever guys just okay, it's like, oh, well, he's not that good. It's like, no, he's not bad. It's just he's not Cason Wallace or Lou Dort or J-Dub. And that's okay. So on Detroit, he's not Asar Thompson. He's not Ron Holland, but I think he's going to be perfectly fine defensively. So that's a really good name. I think Isaiah Joe is going to be really, really good for this team.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like I think some people think it's going to be Asar. I think my only pushback on that is he going to get consistent minutes? Because that was like a thing last year where he'd get pulled out of games with foul trouble or for whatever reason. I know we talked about rotations a little bit earlier in the podcast. Like for whatever reason, Sar was never really playing like close to 30 minutes a game. But I like the Asar pitch. Like, I think you could probably see a little bit more from him. I'd like to see them use him more in like Draymond Green type of dribble handoffs because I think it would be really fun.
So I did that again, a bunch of shameless plugs here, and I
It's
apologize for
it's all
being that
good.
guy. But I did the breakdown in terms of I think I picked I went and just his top 5 assist games are the ones I chose for whatever reason. And the potential to be more of a creation role. And again, it's not necessarily him dribbling across half court and getting a ball screen from a stagnant set or anything. It's just ways to utilize him strategically. And I've said this for a couple years that I think more guys that are like Asar Thompson, like Dyson Daniels, should study Draymond Green more to find a way to be effective against defenders who don't step out and guard you. Now, there's an important caveat there, Anthony. Draymond Green did spend a lot of his career playing with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and not everybody gets to play with those two guys in the way that they can really shoot the basketball. But you can still learn how to dribble into a DHO or attack into this space or that space. I will say this, and again, I don't know if fans like when I say this or not. I think he should get just straight up study Dyson Daniels. I think Dyson Daniels is an underrated offensive player for a guy who also was not able to space the floor last year for the Hawks whatsoever. I've said for 2 years now, I think Dyson Daniels is a little overrated defensively and underrated offensively. And especially with the way he can pass the ball, and Asar Thompson has that talent, I think he could go do some of the things Dyson Daniels does for the Hawks, which, to your point, is some of the similar things that we've seen Draymond do for a decade plus.
Yeah, I was hoping JB would do it a little bit, but I know he had the ball in Jalen Duren's hands so much. I was like, just give me like a quarter of it. I want to see him just kind of run like DHOs because I think he's a good enough ball handler, and I think some of the passes he makes, some of the reads he makes, I
Yeah.
actually have to like pause the TV and rewind. I was like, there's no way he just made that pass because it's
Yeah.
just a beautiful like pocket assist or just like he had like one that was like wrapped around where he like threw it like I don't even know. I still have it on my phone. I still don't believe he even made that pass in like tight traffic. I was like, man, that's insane.
I'm interested to see. We know how good he is defensively. I'm just interested to see, like, is there even more? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
is this what we get consistently for the next 5 years? Is there another little step here that makes him even better? If he gets more offensive usage, does he actually take a step back defensively, right? Like, does it take away from his defense, which is, I think, something you would want to avoid. So I'm really interested to just kind of see this season from Asar all around, both ends of the court.
Yeah, I feel like we really saw like the free throw jumpers, and then like maybe once a week you would see like just random like turn away like fade. And I was just like, I want to see that a little bit more. Like if he had like that turn away fade as like a go-to move, like it would be like I think a really good weapon for him to just kind of like keep on like keeping the defense guessing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with hey, let Asar play as a primary, secondary creator, whatever, is he has to be able to score the ball efficiently. We often
Yeah.
think of that as just distributing the ball and creating for others. He can get to 8 feet about any time he wants. But if he's
Yeah.
not consistently making that shot, defenses are just going to stay home and, okay, make 10 of those tonight, Asar, go score 20 points on, 8 to 10 foot mid-range pull-ups. And if you don't, then we've taken everybody else out of the game and you didn't make, and I'm not saying he can't do that. I'm just saying that is a part of this, is him being efficient, finishing at the rim and finishing those little like short mid-range pull-ups that you're talking about.
Yeah, only nitpicky thing with me is like if he's got so much prime position in the paint, don't kick it back out. Just go up
Yeah.
strong,
Yeah.
please. That's
Yes.
like the
Agreed.
only nitpicky thing I could actually like complain about with this art. Other than that, it's just like I know it's a process. I know his jump shot's a process, but I mean, biggest leap. I love the Paul Reed. I think it's Isaiah Joe. Some people think it's going to be Ron Holland. Someone says it's going to be Chaz Lanier.
Interesting.
Um, I feel like Chaz has to shoot 50% from three to even crack the rotation in preseason.
I just don't see how he even gets a chance. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, listen, we're not there for like training camp and stuff like that. And maybe he just goes in and outplays. I don't know. Like, I just don't think he's outplaying Isaiah Joe, Ron Hollins, Herter,
Yeah.
Javon. Like, I realize these guys aren't all the same position, but you're kind of just talking about this big group of wings, off ball guards, non on ball players. I don't know how he's able to get through all of those guys. I just think there's so many. So I think I think he will get chances throughout the year. And then maybe if he takes advantage of those opportunities, we see him continue to get them because he will get some injury, foul trouble, etc. I just don't see how like he starts the season in the top 12 of the rotation, let alone the top 10.
I think he has the Marcus Sasser role where he's on the bench.
Sure.
JB plays him in garbage time, or maybe players are just not hitting their shot and he gives them a little bit of a run to get the juice flowing a little bit. Like I could totally see Chaz being in that Marcus Sasser role. Not to say that he couldn't play. It's just you look at the shooting guard room, you look at the wings on this team, like they are very, very deep. So it either take an injury or JB just decides, hey, we're down 20. Like, let's see if this kid can give me a spark real quick.
Yeah, I agree.
But I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a chance to shameless plug as much as you want because I know you do a lot of work, a lot of podcasts. I think I did watch your Harkless video because I was like, let's study up on it.
Yeah.
I love your Substack, by the way. The fact that you don't charge for it, I think is criminal.
Well,
But tell the people where they can find your work and how they can support you.
Yes, Motor City Hoops on Twitter, Blue Sky, the Motor City Hoops Substack, completely free, always will be free. I really enjoy doing video breakdowns over there. Probably won't have any for a little while here, but when we get closer to the regular season, I'll start doing some on every player on the roster, and then I do game notes and analysis after every single game. And then, yeah, if you're interested in the, general NBA, I do Game Theory podcast. It's on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever we go live with Sam Vecini. So check that out if you want some more general NBA conversation. But always appreciate having Pistons conversation with you, Anthony.
Well, I'll put all your links in the description after this is over so people
you.
can find you. I will say my favorite episode you did with Sam was the Pelicans episode because the stress on your face was hilarious. they're like, what did they do? Like, did they trade it? They haven't signed anybody. Like,
oh, I gotta get better, man. Like I obviously wear my emotions because I get that a lot. Like, oh, your reaction there was so like, I try to be very unbiased and just kind of, but yeah, sometimes it gets the best of me. So,
I mean, like I found it funny because you're like, what are they even doing? Like, are they rebuilding? Are they going to compete in the West? Like, I was like, man, it was pretty funny, but like this the job you two do. Like, it's probably one of my go-to podcasts when I'm just like cutting the grass. I need something to listen to.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll see you probably next week, unless Jalen Duren signs. Probably won't see much of me. I'm just going to enjoy the rest of the summer, but hope you guys are staying safe. Take care, and always go Pistons. Peace.